Standing within the cathedral of an ancient woodland, the human eye perceives a static world. We see the towering pillars of oak and pine, the motionless carpet of moss, and the dappled sunlight filtering through a frozen canopy. To us, the forest is a backdrop, a slow-moving scenery of wood and leaf. But our senses are deceptive. They are tuned to a frequency of time and scale that is fundamentally disconnected from the reality of the landscape. If we could peel back the layers of the visible, if we could accelerate our perception to match the pulse of the earth, we would find ourselves in the center of a chaotic, brilliant, and deeply calculated intelligence. This is not the intelligence of the individual, but a collective consciousness, a biological architecture that has been refining its processing power for hundreds of millions of years. This is the invisible intelligence of the forests. At the heart of this hidden world lies a network so complex that it challenges our very definition of what it means to think. Beneath your feet, for every step you take, there are hundreds of miles of fungal filaments known as mycelium. This is the wood wide web, a term that is often used as a metaphor but is, in fact, a literal description of a sophisticated information highway. These fungi do not merely exist alongside the trees. They are the connective tissue of the forest's brain. Through a symbiotic relationship called mycorrhiza, trees trade surplus sugar, the product of their photosynthesis, for phosphorus, nitrogen, and other essential minerals gathered by the fungi. But this is more than a simple marketplace. It is a communication grid. Through these microscopic threads, trees send out chemical and electrical signals that convey information about drought, disease, and insect attacks. When a tree in a remote corner of the forest is besieged by bark beetles, it doesn't suffer in silence. It releases a surge of chemical warnings into the network. These signals travel through the mycelium to neighboring trees, which upon receiving the data, immediately begin to alter their own internal chemistry, producing bitter tannins and toxins to preemptively defend themselves. The forest is talking and it is listening. This intelligence manifests most profoundly in the phenomenon of the mother trees. These are the oldest, largest individuals in the forest, possessing the most extensive root systems and the most connections to the fungal network. They are the central hubs of the community. Research has shown that mother trees can distinguish between their own kin and unrelated seedlings. When resources are scarce, these matriarchs will actually reduce their own root competition to make room for their offspring, and will pump life-sustaining nutrients and water into the stressed younger trees through the mycelial links. In their final moments of life, as they succumb to age or disease, these ancient giants have been observed performing a final act of intelligence. They dump their remaining carbon and chemical wisdom into the network, effectively passing on their memory and resources to the next generation. It is a form of biological legacy that ensures the resilience of the entire ecosystem. This is not the survival of the fittest as we traditionally understand it. It is the survival of the most connected. But the intelligence of the forest is not confined to the soil. Above ground, the air is thick with a different kind of data, volatile organic compounds, or VOCs. To us, this is merely the scent of the woods, the sharp tang of pine, or the sweetness of blooming wildflowers. To the forest, these are words. When a leaf is torn by the mandibles of a caterpillar, the plant undergoes a rapid physiological shift. Within minutes, it emits a specific bouquet of chemicals. Some of these are designed to repel the attacker directly, but others are far more tactical. Some plants release distress calls that are tuned specifically to attract the natural predators of the insects eating them. A corn plant being devoured by armyworms will release a scent that acts as a beacon for parasitic wasps, which arrive to lay their eggs inside the worms, effectively hiring a mercenary army to handle the threat. This is a sophisticated multi-trophic interaction that requires the plant to identify its attacker and know which ally to summon. It is an atmospheric intelligence that operates at the speed of scent. Even the concept of movement and reaction in plants is being redefined by modern bioacoustics and electrophysiology. While trees lack a central nervous system, they possess a functional equivalent. When a root encounters an obstacle or a patch of nutrient-rich soil, it doesn't just bump into it, it senses it from a distance. Roots have been observed hearing the sound of water vibrating in pipes and growing toward it. They utilize electrical signaling, pulses of calcium and glutamate, that bear a striking resemblance to the action potentials in human neurons. When a leaf is damaged, an electrical wave travels from the site of the injury to the rest of the plant at a rate of about 1 centimeter per minute. It is slow by our standards, but in the temporal scale of a tree that may live for 1,000 years, it is a lightning strike. This internal signaling allows the plant to act as a unified organism, making decisions about where to grow, how to allocate energy, and when to bloom based on a continuous stream of sensory input from its environment. The architecture of the forest is a testament to what we might call sacred geometry, an inherent mathematical logic embedded in the very fabric of life. Look at the spiral of a pine cone, the branching of a fern, or the fractal patterns of a canopy. These are not aesthetic accidents. They are the result of millions of years of evolutionary optimization. These patterns allow for the maximum surface area, for light absorption, and the most efficient distribution of nutrients. The forest is a living computer, solving complex equations of fluid dynamics, structural engineering, and light harvesting every single day. The shyness of the canopy, the phenomenon where the crowns of fully stocked trees do not touch each other, is a perfect example of this collective spatial awareness. By maintaining a gap, the trees prevent the spread of harmful larvae and ensure that light is distributed more equitably to the lower layers of the forest. It is a disciplined, communal arrangement that maximizes the health of the whole over the ego of the individual. We must also consider the forest's capacity for memory. This is not memory in the sense of a brain storing a digital file, but a physiological record of experience. The rings of a tree are more than just a measure of age. They are a ledger of the Earth's history. They record the scars of fire, the lean years of drought, and the atmospheric composition of centuries past. But recent studies suggest a deeper epigenetic memory. Trees that have survived a specific type of stress, such as a severe frost or a pest outbreak, can pass a primed state to their seeds. These offspring are born with their defenses already tuned to the specific threats their parents faced. They are remembering the trauma of the past to better navigate the future. This transgenerational intelligence is what allows a forest to adapt to a changing climate far more rapidly than random mutation alone would permit. As we dive deeper into the bioacoustics of the wild, we find that the forest is a symphony of vibrations. Trees are constantly vibrating at frequencies we cannot hear. Some of these are the mechanical sounds of water being pulled through the xylem, a process that defies gravity through the sheer power of surface tension and transpiration. But other sounds are more mysterious. There is evidence that plants may communicate via low-frequency acoustic waves that travel through the soil. In the absolute darkness of the earth, where sight is impossible, the sound of growth and the vibration of the network may be the primary way organisms locate one another. We are only beginning to decode this silent language. But it is clear that the forest is never truly quiet. It is a humming, pulsing center of information exchange. The decomposition of the forest is perhaps its most brilliant act of intelligence. In the organic alchemy of the forest floor, death is never an end. It is a realignment of data. Fungi and microorganisms act as the forest's master engineers, breaking down complex polymers of lignin and cellulose back into their fundamental elements. This process is not random. It is a highly regulated cycle that ensures no atom is wasted. The necromass of a fallen giant provides the foundation for thousands of new lives, and the information stored in its fibers is recycled back into the soil to be read by the next generation of roots. This is the ultimate sustainable technology, a closed-loop system that has operated with perfect efficiency for eons. It is a reminder that in the forest's logic, the individual is a temporary vessel for a permanent flow of life. Understanding the invisible intelligence of the forest requires us to abandon our human-centric view of what it means to be smart. We equate intelligence with speed, with tool use, and with the presence of a brain. But the forest offers a different model, a distributed, slow, and incredibly resilient form of cognition. It is an intelligence that values cooperation over competition, longevity over immediate gain, and the health of the system over the dominance of the part. The forest does not think like a man, it thinks like a planet. It is a massive multi-species processor that manages the chemistry of the atmosphere, the filtration of the water, and the fertility of the soil. When we strip away the anthropocentric lens that has dominated our scientific history, we begin to see that nature is not a collection of objects, but a web of relationships. Every leaf, every fungal spore, and every drop of sap is a data point in a grand living calculation. The intelligence of the forest is invisible only because we have not been trained to see it. It is hidden in the smell of the air, the vibration of the ground, and the slow, inexorable growth of the timber. When we finally learn to read the language of the trees, we realize that we are not observers of the forest, but participants in its vast breathing mind. We are part of the same code, subject to the same laws of geometry and fluid wisdom. The forest is not just a place we visit. It is a mirror reflecting a deeper, more ancient way of being alive, one that has mastered the art of survival through the power of connection. In the silence of the woods, the world is speaking. It is time we learned how to listen. This intelligence is our heritage as much as it is the trees. Every breath of oxygen we take is a gift from this global network, a byproduct of the forest's quiet, constant labor. By studying the invisible layers of the natural world, we aren't just learning about biology. We are learning about the fundamental principles of existence. We are discovering that intelligence is not a rare spark confined to the human skull, but a universal property of life itself, woven into the very fabric of the cosmos. As we move forward in our exploration, we will continue to pull back the veil, revealing the breathtaking complexity that thrives just beyond the edge of our perception. The journey into the invisible has only just begun, and the forest, in all its ancient, silent wisdom, is waiting to show us the way. This is the story of life, rewritten through the lens of the unseen. This is the pulse of the world, beating in a rhythm we are only now starting to comprehend. And in that comprehension, we find our true place in the grand design, not as masters of nature, but as humble students of its infinite, invisible brilliance.